luck. It's not luck, it's preparation that met opportunity. Hi there, Coach Sage Canaday of SageRunning.com and Hoka One One Athlete here with another training talk. Today we're going to talk about progression or improvement in running, and I've done similar talks to this on my channel over the last 12 years. You can check out the playlist, training talk advice for any service, any distance, whether you're starting out at 5K or 10K or you're doing an ultra marathon or more advanced. These things, I always go back to what I call the aerobic base, building the aerobic base, the aerobic engine. And for a lot of people, the number one thing to improve is, first of all, you have to be healthy, general health, but you can't get injured. And to do that, you have to also be consistent in your training. And so if you build up your weekly mileage or how many kilometers or miles you run in a week, even if it's all easy, even if it's conversational pace, low heart rate, under 70, 75% max heart rate, generally if you go from running 50K a week or 30 miles a week, and over the course of several weeks or months, you are able to build up to like 50 or 60 miles a week, 90 to 100K per week, and it's all pretty easy. Generally, people start improving quite a bit in distance running events, whether you're doing the mile or 1500, or you're doing 100K, or anything in between, mountain trails, road, track, you name it, because you get more endurance. And this happens especially with runners that haven't consistently done that for a long time. It happens especially when you're younger. A lot of you maybe started running later in life though, after your 20s or 30s or even later, and you can improve a lot because it's your chronological age, how old you actually are, versus your running age, how long have you actually consistently been training at a high level. That kind of determines roughly, along with genetics, your potential for big improvement chunks, improving your time significantly. And you could comment below with your progression. We'd like to hear your story actually, because I know a lot of you come from a different background, your age, your event focus, and you know, there's a genetic component for sure. And if you're someone like me, I feel like relating to me is probably not a good idea, because I started running pretty high mileage pretty young. I started training really seriously when I was 12 years old. I had already been playing soccer a lot, and by the time I was in high school, I was already running 100 kilometers a week, 60 miles a week, and in college I was running countless 100-mile weeks or 160K a week. Now that's pretty extreme, and that injures a lot of people. And I think the goal with at least my running is longevity. I want to be able to do this sport till I'm as old as possible and still kicking out there, hopefully, and still moving and being healthy, enjoying the sport because you're enjoying it for health and fitness reasons, not necessarily just competitive reasons, right? It's nice to win a race or win an age group or qualify for Boston, New York, or something like that, but it's also nice to just be able to be healthy and consistent and get outside and exercise and be able to eat a little extra food or beer here and there and not feel guilty about it and stuff like that, and enjoy the company of others, maybe not during the COVID era, but you know, enjoy the running community and sharing in that self-improvement, which we're all seeking. It's very rewarding mentally and physically. Now, how do you do that? Well, like I said, the number one key, building that aerobic base. I've done talks on that already. I'll link to them below in the description. But the next thing is that, you know, there are a lot of factors and variables involved, and that's really the main point of this talk, is that I think sometimes it's hard when you play the comparison game, and that's why I said don't compare yourself to me. I mean, maybe you can if you're a similar age and you've run similar mileage and had a similar background, but you know, you see these people respond differently, they improve or they don't improve. A lot of times people don't improve because they get injured. They get an overuse injury. It's a very demanding sport, and so if you rush into things, you start running your easy days too fast, or you start trying to increase your mileage too fast and do too much, you get an injury. It could be a bone break, a stress fracture, it could be a muscle strain, tendon strain, Achilles tendonitis, plantar fasciitis, shin splints, stuff like that. You know, some of it's genetic, it could be tied up in your form, but it also could have been a training mistake. And I've made plenty of mistakes over the year. I overtrain usually, and then I come out flat. or I like to say I undertrain because I'm lazy and I don't train specifically for a race because I don't know the course sometimes, or I overtrain and overemphasize something and my form gets off and I don't do very well. And I'll fully admit to that. I'm not a know-it-all. I don't mean to be like a know-it-all coach. I've experienced a lot in my 22 years of year-round running, and I ran track at shorter distances. I've done the longer ultras, the big ultras. I've been very fortunate to do a lot of iconic races that are hard to get into and run against the world's best mountain runners, as well as see the starting line at like the Boston Marathon, toe the starting line with runners on the road as well, a couple Olympic trials. But it's not always happy times. There's a lot of pain involved sometimes, and I've been lucky with injury, knock on wood somewhere here, not getting too bad of overuse injuries, but overtraining sometimes, or being like low on iron or deficient in something, or not having good glute activation. And some people say that's an excuse, but I'm trying to look at it scientifically and find out reasons why, and sometimes I don't know why. And the more I learn about the sport, and the more people I interact with in the great running community, interacting with other people, like-minded people like you, but also my teammates in elite programs or in Division I college running, interacting with people that we've coached and consulted with over the years, you see all these individual differences, and you realize, the more I get involved in the sport, the more I realize that I don't know very much about it actually. And when you're talking about any service, any distance, you're talking about road marathons, but then also mountain ultra trail running, there's so many different varieties of styles of racing and so many factors that might influence your performance that it's really hard to say, oh yeah, this, you got to do this and this and this. But you do want to be healthy. You want to be healthy in your general health, your mental health, and your physical health, so you could at least train consistently. And generally it's also good to have a good variety in your training. So I talk about that aerobic base, and I say, okay, you're building your mileage up. Well, after you've done that and you're healthy, then you start looking at adding an element of a long run in there, right? Especially if you're training for a 10K or longer type of race, you need some sort of long run, maybe once a week or once every 10 days, once every 2 weeks at least, where you actually run significantly farther or spend more time on your feet than you would on another shorter day, right? And then you also look at maybe once a week where you're actually running fast, right? It could be going to the track and doing intervals. It could be even something like a steady state tempo run. We call it, up tempo or threshold. Done a lot of talks on that as well. But yeah, there's some focus to the training program, so to speak, right? Maybe you're doing drills and strides too. A lot of people, it's hard because if you have a lot of obligations, you're not a sponsored pro runner, you've got a full-time job, you have family, you probably don't have 3 hours a day to train. You don't have time to go to the gym. A lot of gyms are closed still right now, right? I don't want to go to the gym, we'll put it that way. And so you can't do all the extra little things. You can't get 9 hours of sleep a night in your altitude tent and wear your compression gear, right? Massage automatic compression gear, I should say. Maybe you don't have that luxury, right? Maybe you got off work late and you were tired and you had to get fast food drive-through because you were too tired to cook. And you can't always get, organic fruits and all these expensive foods or recovery shakes and protein bars and stuff. So I realize that it's everyone's got a different story and a different background, and you do the best with the time you have and the resources you have. And it's definitely not fair because some people have a lot more luxury and a lot more time to train than others, or they have their personal massage, or they have their special gym membership or something like that. So, it's not a level playing field, but you do the best you can with the time you have. You try to get enjoyment in the sport and realize that a lot of great runners come out of deprivation. A lot of the top marathon runners in the world, for example, in East Africa, come actually out of poverty. And so it's kind of like, if you've read the book David and Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell, there's some things that make you stronger because you had to overcome extra adversity sometimes. And in a sport like distance running, being mentally tough could go a really long way, especially in like a longer race, like a marathon or an ultra marathon. So I'm not sure exactly where I was going with this, but I've had a lot of lucky, good fortune things being involved in the community, but we've seen diversity and people with different backgrounds coming into the sport and different progression levels. And it's not always linear. It's not always this, if you do A, B, and C, you're going to, improve this, and you're going to qualify for Boston, and you'll crack 3 hours in the marathon. It doesn't necessarily always work that way. You hope for the best, though, and you try to line up your chances to give you the best chance for success. And it's very rewarding to progress. And like my little example, I guess, last week I set a personal record on a mountain, the second tallest mountain in Colorado, Mount Massive. And I've been doing workouts on it the last 3 weeks, and I was able to run 6 minutes faster round trip than I did last summer when I was training in pretty good shape. So I was pretty happy about that. I set a personal record, a personal FKT, so to speak, if you want to talk about like STRAVA segments and stuff, on this mountain, and that was rewarding. It felt good. I was able to really run the downhill fast, which it was a pleasant surprise, which is kind of rare. I usually am disappointed when I run a hard workout or race, but I was pleasantly surprised. So you enjoy those. You enjoy those pleasant surprises where you felt surprisingly good on a run, or you surprised yourself with an improvement or a fast time. Those are the moments that really help you in the sport, because it's a tough sport. There's setbacks occur. It's like a microcosm of life, right? There's tough things and challenges you have to overcome. Some people have to overcome a lot more than others, but we're all into this together, and we all strive to improve and feel healthy and good about ourselves as we go through our life, or we go through our running career. So I hope that's your takeaway on here. And even a great runner like Kilian Jornet, best mountain runner in the world, greatest of all time, he had kind of some injury issues supposedly this summer from doing too much flat speed and flat track and road running. I think he's getting healthy now, but he's an amazing mountain athlete. He tried to mix it up any servicing distance, kind of tweak something. It's very demanding, and he's younger than me. But again, I digress. Thank you so much for your support on here. Again, check out those training talks on building your aerobic base, or marathon training talks. I've been doing YouTube videos for over 12 years, coaching a lot of runners. Came from the road and track background, but doing mountain ultra trail running the last 6 years. So thank you so much for all your support on here. Thanks to Patreon supporters for really making this channel possible. Title sponsor, Hoka One, keeping the dream alive. This is the torrent. Thanks so much. Thanks for subscribing, liking these videos. Hope you're doing well. Stay tuned for more via 2Max Productions.